Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, Alex Reevy, along with the lively librarian herself, Sandy Reevy.
Libby. Yes. Hi.
So it is episode 239, February 20th. Let's get right into it. In the transits, we start off today with a new moon at 1 degree of Pisces.
My favorite day of the month. Escape, a runaway, all clear.
Same day, Venus ingress Aries.
Go after or before.
Tuesday, February 21st, Mercury square Uranus.
Slow down.
Wednesday, February 22nd, Mercury trine Mars.
Okay, you can catch up now.
Sunday, February 26th, Mercury in shadow.
Be cognizant.
Then in Talisman times, we have many to discuss. And on the horizon, we have the March forecast and cheat sheet coming up. And in our house, we are back from a trip to Ohio, celebrating a very special 91st birthday that we want to tell you all about. Stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intentions.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The story of you.
Hello, lively librarian.
You know, all my devices, a client told me about Libby. And for as much as I read, although any reading that I do that's astrological or fixed stars or horary or election, all my astrology stuff, I have to have the actual book. Right? Because I need to make notes in it. I'm reading 5 books at a time with astrology. But at the end of the night, I go into my Piscean la la land of reading. Right? And I keep buying these books, which I love, these novels and fiction. And then I'm done with it in, a couple weeks and buying another book. And somebody said, you should go on Libby. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, a library card. So I went up and got my replacement library card because I hadn't used it in 18 years. They're like, ma'am, we don't even have you on file. I'm like, yeah, it was 18 years ago. And I'm on Libby. Hey, so you get to borrow books online.
Right.
As if you go to the library and take them out. You get them on your device. So I've got it on my computer, my phone, my iPad, and my tablet.
It's really cool. I didn't even know that this was possible. So it's an application. You just need a active library card. You can request books, and once that book is, and it literally works just like the old-fashioned library where, once somebody is done reading their version of that, digital book, you get it right there in your app and you get to read it for how long do you have?
Well, some of them are 2 weeks and some of them are 4 weeks. Now, the first one I got was like, Orpheus, because even in my, downtime reading, I'm reading something about mythology and fiction, right? So I'm just upping my game while I read. So I get this Orpheus girl and I'm thinking, okay, this is, let me read about Orpheus and what this fiction. And I think I got to page 50 and I'm like, boring, not what I want. And 2 weeks later, I was getting these notifications saying, oh, you only have 2 more days. Did you want to keep it longer? You could push this button and keep it longer, if there wasn't any hold on it for the next person. And I was like, no. And I'm like, how do I give this back in time? And they just take it back. So it's, I got an email saying, okay, this is gone. We took it. We took your book back.
Right. And that is always the problem. Or back in the day when I would take library books out, I would always forget to bring them back.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe that was
so
me
cool,
because you weren't
brilliant.
driving. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Or I
great.
would even just forget that I even had them. So I didn't even know.
So it's fabulous. It's so funny.
It's
I was
cool.
watching, there was a book I wanted because there's a TV show on Netflix right now that I'm like, oh, that name sounds familiar. Louise, I forget her last name. Louise Patton, maybe. It's like, read the book while I'm watching the movie. There's a little thing in the back down in the corner of it, Netflix. I'm watching the movie. It says, oh, here's her book. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to Libby right now and rent it. Because, I always like to do that. And here, there's 12 other people ahead of me. So I'm on hold for this book that I'll get in 11 weeks.
Right.
Right. So interesting. Right. So I went ahead and got another book. But oh my gosh, if I'm late in the Libby world, I'm happy to be here.
It's
so
cool.
If you don't know it, now you know.
I'll probably join too. So, all right. And one last thing about that, it does give you a deadline to read it, right? So you're kind of like you're chasing time a little bit, and you're like, oh, I got to make sure that I read all of this. Otherwise, I'm going to wait 3 months until I can maybe finish it myself.
You think about your property tax. Everybody pays property tax, right? Mm-hmm. And even if you rent, you're paying some. You have the availability to go to your local library. It's free. Mm-hmm. It's free. You pay for it inadvertently in your taxes,
right?
So. These books are free.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these books are $14.99, and if you try to do this once a month, I mean, come on. It's one way to cut back.
Okay. All right. So this may seem like a long-winded episode because we have a lot to talk about. I do want to share, going direct to all of the listeners, I want to share this really awesome email we received. We're going to keep this person anonymous for right now, and it's touching. So she says, I want to share what astrology means in my life. But first, to set up a few facts about my life. When I was 9, my mother died, and I've never understood why she was taken from me. I've mourned for years, watched my children grow, and tuned in to him at each subsequent age that my siblings were when she died. As the only girl with 3 older brothers, I thought that I could learn a bit more of what they experienced with her death by watching my own son grow and reflecting upon the relationship I had with my son at those specific ages. Mm-hmm. Then I met Sandy, and she explained to me that I chose this life. I'm introspective and have given an incredible amount of thought to why I might have chosen this life. There seemed no answers. Then an even more striking event occurred in my life. My only child and 33-year-old son died of COVID-19, which was traced back to a workplace exposure. Again, I asked, how did I ever choose this life? There is no way this is what I wanted. I meditated about my son and know that the life that he led was the one that he chose. He was wise beyond his years, became my greatest cheerleader and confidant, all while giving his life to service. His life was a life well spent, and it was ever so clear to me that he chose his life. He chose his entrance, he chose his hero exit, and he chose to give himself to humanity in a way that most of us are unable. So if he so clearly chooses his life, then I must have chosen mine. My son, James, did everything with such purpose and made everyone that he met feel so meaningful. He used his great passion for life to serve others as a paramedic and firefighter. James filled a room with enduring confidence. His presence couldn't be missed. With a sense of humor, the ability to tell a story, a strong will, loyalty, and compassion, he touched more lives in his short lifetime than most people ever do. An angel placed on this earth to perform God's work. James rescued people from car wrecks, restarted hearts, birthed babies, saved countless lives, and comforted many more. His friendships so deep that many viewed him as a brother. He was a born leader with the ability to think fast and maneuver quickly. He used this skill to become one of the best medics to ever serve his community. With a never-ending thirst for knowledge, his ability to teach was a gift. He was proud of his ability to mentor other medics and took his role with all seriousness, for he knew that they would face great challenges and be depended upon by people experiencing the worst day of their life. His mission was clear, but mine, not so much. However, astrology has shown me how to process his loss and understand his loss. It has also taught me how to manage his loss and how to have him forever a driving force behind me every day. I hold him up. He holds me up. He gives me purpose beyond the purpose that I felt when he was on this earth. He's teaching me now how to serve. My service is different than his, but is done in his honor, is done with all of me present, and brings great joy to those that I serve. Through the life that he chose, I have learned a lot about the life I chose. I feel his presence in ways that are unexplainable. My favorite role in my life was being his mother. I said that very frequently and meant every word. Today, I use the love for motherhood to honor him and nurture so many more, just as he cared for so many. The grief I've endured cannot be denied, but the love, loyalty, and gratitude that I have for his life keeps him ever present. I love that astrology has helped me see my life as something that I've chosen, and his life as one that continues to serve through me. He is leading me to an unknown future that I trust and believe in and am comforted by. Anonymous.
I can't.
Yeah. So sending so much love. I was so excited to share this because, one, it was beautifully written, and two, the heart behind it and the hero story that your son James lived with such purpose is incredible. And thank you so much for sharing this with us and allowing us to share it here on the podcast. So sending so much love and comfort your way.
Yeah. And sorry for the watery face. Mm-hmm. But my emotions are at the top of my head. And I talk to this mother every month and listen to her excitable movements that she has changed from one perspective to another and is doing this brand new work that she discovered needs to be more in discussion with people while they're still on this earth. Because once someone leaves, there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be paperwork and such that needs to happen. And she is now taking on a role, changed her kind of career path to honor him, to help others
with those tough transitions.
Tough, the people that are left here in the world, on the planet, once somebody leaves, and just trying to help that smooth that, because it's not just the loss. It's now we've got who owns the house,
right,
where is the taxes, where does the money go, who goes to probate. So just beautiful, and I love that. Thank you for sharing.
So let's move into transits. And this week, tell me a little bit about this week. How are we looking? We're starting off with a new moon.
We start off with a new moon, which is actually free and clear. There's no aspects. There's no beneficial aspects, nor except that they're in Pisces, which I think is very beneficial. But there's no aspects that right. are hard. There's nothing from Mars or nothing from Saturn, or Uranus or Pluto. So it's one of my favorite new moons of the year. And Venus moves into Aries. So there's just this really moving forward. Let's go into each of the dates.
Mm-hmm. So we'll start off with this Monday, February 20th, new moon at 1 degree of Pisces.
Right. This happens at 1:06 a.m. And I did call this escape, a runaway, all clear. It's like go hide for a purpose. Go hide on purpose. There's free and no limits. And that's the one thing that when we get into Pisces season, that Pisces doesn't want to limit, right? Pisces looks at, water flow without borders. Mm-hmm. And so really this is just so beautiful to, whether you're in escapism of compassion or intuition or meditation or creation. This is the first 2 weeks, right? We always do something at a new moon. We plant a seed, set an intention that could come alive in the next 2 weeks, but also within the next 6 months, when we have the full moon in Pisces, which means the sun is in Virgo and the full moon is in Pisces. So that's 6 months from now. So regardless of the timing, find that meditative place. Mm-hmm. It is re-engaging, resurgence.
Great.
Yeah.
It's exciting, kind of like a fresh start.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next transit that same day, Venus ingress Aries.
Right. So this is go after or before. But so let's break that up. Go after what you want and go before you change your mind. Mm-hmm. Because Venus in Aries, now she's come out of her place of exaltation and she immediately goes into the place of her detriment, right? Because she's in an opposite sign of Libra where she is in her dignity. So, but she's heading toward Jupiter. Mm-hmm. And Jupiter is not in a debilitated place in Aries. So we're going to get this combination soon of the Venus conjoined of Jupiter. So that's what Venus is kind of looking at. So this could be a beneficial for women, Venus, mm-hmm. right? So it's, again, do what you want. What is your desire? And, do it before you change your mind because you're on to the next thing, right. In Aries. Like, oh, I want to do that. Well, do it. And then move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Because, you might be able to talk about this. I
have Venus in Aries natally.
And Jupiter in Aries conjoined. You have the two benefics mm-hmm. in Aries in your 12th house, which is one reason why you do the astrological meditations, right? Mm-hmm. So you have these good luck, this rabbit foot, this good luck charm, always in your back pocket. And you don't push them out because they're in the 12th house, so they kind of stay close to
my little blessings.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have anything else to add to the Venus ingress Aries? That energy is very kind of electric. It is exciting. It is action oriented. That right. Venus is not normally, but it is kind of a regeneration of value and art and beauty. So.
And think about that because you have that, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you go after what you want? And you have no problem, like, my Venus is in Taurus, right? So I think about, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And you're like, nope, you're not doing that. I'm like, oh, but I've already got it planned through. And you're like, nope, we're changing it, right? So that's the ability of Venus, even in detriment, that wants to take action and mm-hmm. takes possibly a risk, but has courage there.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Tuesday, February 21st, Mercury square Uranus.
Yeah, so Mercury is squaring, the planet of thinking and moving about, walking, biking, traveling is square Uranus. So it's like, slow down, don't stumble, tumble, and fall. There's too much coming into the patterning, into the formula. It's so funny because I'm reading Ptolemy's Alchemist, and you just open this big book that was written in the first century. Yeah, first century, like 100 common error, right? And when you open the book, you see all of these formulas about him writing about the movement of the earth and the sun, and how we're seeing different times of different stars. So there's a lot of math and a lot of geometry, and it makes me think that there's just too much coming into the mind. So kind of, if you need to say something, this is your place to get something said loudly, right? Because it's a square. So to me, this
also can be a little bit more of like a kind of explosion too. Unexpected.
Yeah. Well, because it's, we're looking at the Mercury is in an air sign of Aquarius, and Uranus is in a Taurus sign of Earth. So it's air and Earth. That's why it's a square. So air wants to move things, and Earth is going, no, I'm not moving. So, just interesting if we're watching for high winds or things that Mercury, let's see how strong Mercury is to move things about. Do you stay to your original plan? This is like, I'm going to stay right here, and we get the square. And so Mercury is saying, stop staying there. Move on. So as much as you want to stay on your original plan, you may be moved slightly. The compass might move a bit, but don't stumble, tumble, and fall. Find your grounding. And if you need to turn your body, go ahead and turn it instead of getting pushed over and falling over, which is a funny story. We're going to talk about that in our house. Oh my
goodness, yes.
Yeah.
So Wednesday, February 22nd, Mercury trine Mars.
This is able to catch up. Now, Mercury is now immediately the next day, which is Ash Wednesday, makes a trine to Mars. And there's reception here because Mars is in Gemini. My God, can you still believe Mars is in Gemini? We have another month of Mars in Gemini. Mars has been in Gemini since August of last year. This is a long time. So we got one more month. And Mercury coming and making a trine. This is easy energy. This is air energy. And when I say reception, that means Mercury is in the sign. Mercury is receiving Mars because Mars is in the domicile place of Mercury. So it's great for asking for favors, right? Know what you are asking for because you just might get it, right? And it just feels like you can kind of catch up. You have full action orientation if you've got your mind set on what path you are going down.
Right. Yeah. So let's move on to the end of the week, Sunday, February 26th, Mercury in shadow.
Mercury's moving into shadow. It just seems like Mercury's either coming into shadow, being retrograde, making a cazimi to the sun, going direct, then coming out of shadow. So Mercury just makes so many, he's the planet that's really other than the moon, he's the fastest in the zodiac. He's the messenger. He's constantly moving from the upper world to the underworld. So he's moving into this shadow at 22 degrees of Aquarius. And so be cognizant of where you are headed, where you are thinking. It's moving toward the superior cazimi. So which means it's not going to be retrograde, but it's moving to pass the sun. So we will get a cazimi down the road here. In March, but it's not retrograde. We don't get the retrograde until April.
Okay. So I think that's a wrap on the week. So shall we move into Talisman times?
That's heavy. Oh my gosh.
If anyone has been missing the Talisman times, because more recently they have been light to none, we are going to sideswipe you with a ton of Talisman options and upcoming ones. So the ones that you finished, we have 5 to discuss, and we'll go more in depth into the ones that that we didn't discuss last week.
Right, because I did find 2 extra ones that I have finished. Well, and because we got Venus in Pisces. Come on. She's in her exaltation. That only happens once for about 3 weeks in a whole 52-week period, a year. And so here she is again. And so I wanted to capture as much as we can with Venus exalted in Pisces. So any of these inspire you or capture your thought, grab these up. They're on the website now.
So Wednesday, February 15th, to be inclusive of everyone.
I am more than friendly and welcoming to everyone I meet, especially when I am in a group setting for personal or business purposes. I engage in receptive and beneficial goals. You know, real quick, this is the moon making an aspect to Venus and Pisces in the 11th house of goals and groups and organizations. So there we go. And
Thursday, February 16th, to begin a new cycle of refinement.
I swiftly deal with any old situations that need removal. This purification process speedily permits new committed building pieces. Now, this is the annual new synodic cycle of the sun making a conjunction to Saturn, which this is the cazimi moment. And Saturn is in his own sign of Aquarius, so therefore the sun is at Aquarius, and we can say, hey, this is the last time we're going to get this cazimi of the annual synodic cycle when we get a fresh Saturnian start of building something. But for 26 years, we will not have the sun starting this with Saturn starting with this synodic cycle in Saturn's sign, right? So this is key. This is the last one. And so it really is. And when I use the word swiftly in reference to Saturn, sounds like I'm using the wrong word, because Saturn is the slowest. He's the delayer. He's the limiter. He is the detourer. But when I use the word swiftly and speedily here, it's like the sun crosses him in a day's time and clears and cleans him up. So he is purified. That's what I mean by building new constructive, productive processes. This is I should put this as one of my favorites because this is a rare transit. This won't happen again for 26 years. So this is a great one.
Yeah.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
So Friday, February 17th, to display pleasantness, charm, and beautiful appearance.
Yeah. My spiritual growth is noticed by others. I possess inner peace, beauty, and infinite wisdom. I feel close with God. Now, why this is, the moon is making a nice sextile, opportunistic approach to Venus. While Venus is exalted in Pisces, and she's at her exaltation degree at 26 degrees of Pisces, when she is as close to the heavens as possible at this 26 degrees of exaltation. So again, as
That's
I'm reading
that proximity with God.
Almageist, this is where Ptolemy was, and Copernicus was, because there's this book I have has got Nicholas Copernicus is in on book 3. So this is just how everybody, when I say everybody, the astronomers were discovering the movements of the planets and how we are here down on Earth, and that the Earth is circular and it's not flat. Otherwise we'd be, and then the stars and the North and South Pole are not straight up in the air, and just, oh my God, it's a lot. I can only read a page a day. But that's where we get this, is to be as close to the heaven and furthest away from the earth.
And the same day, Friday, February 17th, to enjoy the beneficence of friends.
Whether we are on a vacation, having a private conversation, or discussing mundane subjects, I feel blessed with these beautiful people in my life. And again, here we are. I wanted to grab 2 of these. This is when Venus and the moon, again, she's in her exaltation sign and her exaltation degree. And this is when Venus now is in the 11th house of friends and groups and organizations.
Makes sense. And a third and final talisman that you finished Friday, February 17th, to be respected by others.
I am honored and esteemed in my standing. Others are ready and willing to assist me. I am romantic, sensitive, and intuitive. Here we go again. That Friday was super, super busy for me because here we got Venus in the 10th house, Moon in the 7th house, making this aspect, this sextile aspect, again, to Venus exalted in Pisces at her 26 degrees of Pisces exaltation degree. Yeah. She's at the top of the chart. She's in the midheaven, baby. She is respected and honored.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. So let's move on to the 4 upcoming talismans, starting with Tuesday, February 21st, to take on an ambitious role.
I know and feel the incredible impact I have in the public arena. It is known that I come from a loving place of integrity. This is moon in, this is this new moon. So it's the new moon is making the next aspect is making a conjunction to Venus in Aries. Now, there's a reception here as well because the moon is being received by Venus in her exaltation place. So this is how to take on, because Venus in Aries, take on an ambitious role. Yes, let's get going. Let's move. Let's gain. Yeah.
And the same day, the next talisman, to partner with a fortunate ally.
I am blessed with abundance, cheerfulness, and enthusiasm when in cooperation with my companion. We get busy. Again, this is moon in Pisces, making a conjunction to the Venus and Jupiter in Aries. But again, there's reception here with Venus and Jupiter are receiving the moon in Pisces. And what we talk about, this is happening on the 7th house descendant degree. So we're talking about other people here. That's why it's about partnerships and companionships.
And Wednesday, February 22nd, to be the center of attention.
I am noticed as I walk about. I possess generosity and sweetness that I am willing to grant on others. We connect. Now, moon has moved past Venus into Aries and is what's called enclosed. So there's an enclosure.
So the moon kind of sits in between them?
Yep. The moon can sit in between the two benefics.
Venus and Jupiter.
Yeah. And this is in the 10th house. So again, this is about being center of attention. It's like you're walking into a party in the center of, on either side of you is the two
Escorts.
stars, right? The two stars that
right.
everybody's looking at. And they're like, well, who are you in the middle there? You must be important here because we got the moon as the ruler of the chart because we got Cancer rising.
And Friday, February 24th, we have to acquire safe travel.
How many people ask us for the travel talisman? And we sell out as soon as we get one. Here is another one. So I'm wondering if the person that was wanting one can hear this and get it.
Right.
To acquire safe travel. All parts of my movement as I take action are protected. This includes my physical and emotional self. I'm flying high. We got the moon making the moon in Taurus.
Stable emotions.
And in her exaltation, Luna's exaltation, making a conjunction to the ascendant in Taurus. And here's the part, is the making a conjunction to the 3rd lunar mansion, which is about acquiring all good things, including safe travel, which was written back in the, the 1st century. So that is, woo! Talk about busy. I'm working on Bali charts along with all these great election charts.
Yeah.
So lots going on.
A lot going on. Also, I'm going to remind everyone that the Talisman of the month, it is to acquire respect and love. This is Talisman number 1223, and this is on special. So if you do click that link in the show notes or any of the Talisman show notes, you'll see those talismans, but this Talisman of the month is on special. So let's move on the horizon, where we have February 25th is the March forecast and cheat sheet. Remember that we have switched platforms, so you can watch live with a free trial on patreon.com. So that link is in the show notes, or you can go over to patreon.com/chattingwiththestars and join us, because this is going to be some really awesome information that Sandy and Susan bring to you. And there's a printable PDF that you can keep with you as well. Mm-hmm. That's all included in the monthly price. And you also get a free trial. So if you just want to check it out and see what this is all about, we would love to have you. Also, April 1st to the 11th, we have our 2023 Bali retreat. It is quickly approaching. We would love to have you. There is still space and there is still an opportunity. Flights have been pretty stable. So if you want to check out the cost that it's going to take you to get yourself all the way over to Bali,
the other side of the world, and use points. Really, I mean, I use credit card points. Mm-hmm. So if you have that, this is a place to use that.
Right. Yeah. Right. So also, we do have our early bird still available for September 7th through the 14th. That is the Amargos Greece retreat.
I only have 3 spots left, 3 beds left for that.
So,
and if you want a single room, you're going to take up
a whole bed.
The whole room.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right. That is all for On the Horizon. Let's move into our house, where we are just back from a trip to Ohio, celebrating a very special lady in our lives.
It was so
Your
great.
mom, my grandmother, Mimi, I call her. And it was her 91st birthday. It went off to a crazy... You explain.
We left on Friday, but 2 days prior, I get a call from my brother who lives there saying Mom fell. She's fine, but she fell outside of Walgreens. She's at the emergency room now. But the more we got, more of the details in the storyline, Mom missed a little step, kind of caught her foot, went down on her knee, went down on her hand, went down on her elbow, and smacked the front of her face.
And broke her nose.
She gets helped up, her purse and phone, everything flew. She gets helped up by 2 people that were in the store. Are you okay? She's like, I think so. Let me go sit in my car. She sat in her car and she's like, yeah, I feel like my nose is blowing up. What should I do? Well, I'm just going to drive home, because she's already thinking that if I drive to the emergency room, because I am going to the emergency room,
right,
because I need to know
she's
I
91
don't have a bleed in my
right,
head, because she fell smack, and which is interesting, flat on her nose, not on the side of her head, blah, 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 blah. So she's thinking if she goes to the emergency room right now, then there's going to be an extra car. And if she's not permitted to drive home, then she's got, the person that drove to the emergency room to see her, and then her extra car. So she's making all of her decision up by and I don't know how far I have to walk, from my parking lot into the emergency room. And so she decides she drives herself home, gets home, makes some calls. Nobody's picking up.
Terrible.
Finally gets a hold of somebody, and they're like, get over to Mimi's house. She fell, blah, blah, blah. So the first arrival is Grant's wife. And she was, Mom's opening up the door for her.
Asking her how she's
how
doing.
are you? And she's like, whoa,
I was not expecting this.
I thought I'd find you on the middle, at the bottom of the stairs. Like I did not, she's like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead. And she gets taken to the emergency room. She broke her nose. It's not out of place. They don't have to do any surgery or move it back in. They did a brain scan. Nothing happening.
So
Sends her home.
So we were planning the whole time to be there that weekend for her birthday, her 91st birthday. We were just going to do something very low key because she didn't want to make any big deal out of it. And now that she has a broken nose and some, bruising on her face, we needed to make it even more low key.
Well, we thought.
Right.
That was the plan. So she gets home and she's like, yeah, a little bit sore, but I actually gave her some LifeWave patches for some of her sorenesses, and she's feeling super.
Yeah, anyway, she's feeling really good. And what I loved when I chatted with her on the phone just to check in, and she said, they keep asking me what my pain level is at when I was at the emergency room and the doctors, and everyone keeps asking me what my pain level is at. She goes, I don't equate discomfort as pain. She goes, I'm just uncomfortable. I am not writhing in pain and rolling around on the floor or screaming out loud. She goes, I make a big definitive differentiation between those two. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to take that and take that for myself, because I think that, that's so powerful.
It's easy to go to, this is painful.
Right. Yeah. I'm in pain. Oh, this hurts. But really, it is just discomfort. Okay, so go on.
Well, no. And so we get there. We're like, okay, Mom, I had reservations. There were 12 of us going out for dinner and blah, blah, blah. And she picked the place. This is in advance. And we're like, oh, she may not want to go. My mom, is very cognizant of her appearance.
She's so social that she's going to know someone.
She gets her hair done. She gets her fingernails done. I mean, she wears cute clothes. She's always out and about, and she's very social. And I'm like, oh, she's not going to want to be seen with bruises and a swollen face. And she's like, no, you know what? I'll go. So we went. My brother and sister-in-law came in from Newark, Ohio, and my sister was the only one of us 4 that were missing. She lives in Texas, but we had a great dinner. We played games. She loves Farkle, the game Farkle.
We had a ball with that.
We played that. And you know what she said? Her favorite part, and I heard her telling her girlfriends at church the next day, her favorite part of her celebration was
your idea for dessert.
She doesn't like cake. She doesn't like pie. Why are we going to do a stupid cake? So I had the idea of doing that charcuterie.
A sweet charcuterie. A dessert charcuterie.
A caramel apple
charcuterie board.
Charcuterie board.
So it was so cool. We had this really awesome kind of like crystal clear tray that we spread tons of the caramel dip, I guess. We took out a couple of those tubs out on there, and then in these really kind of cool horizontal lines, we added crushed peanuts, we added coconut, we added chocolate chips, and
we added fluff, marshmallow fluff. Of course, it was a birthday, so we added some multicolored sprinkles in a line. We had,
I think that was
cinnamon sugar.
Oh, that was good. And peanut butter.
And peanut butter.
And so it was so good. I actually
all different kinds of apples. All
different, yeah.
And
opal.
we went and got little vanilla wafers, and we had that around. We also she loves ginger snaps.
So you could even take the cookies and use the cookies to decide your dessert fate for that bite.
And you just drag your apple cookie across the area that you want a flavorful. Oh my gosh. And we put a 91 on it.
Yep.
Sang her happy birthday, and everybody stood around for like a good 15-20 minutes versus, usually gather around a cake, sing happy birthday, blow out the candles, and serve your pieces, and where everybody goes and sits down and eat. We all had to stand there.
It was perfect. It was like
on
a wonderful
island.
community dessert. And everyone's like, that was so good. You got to try the peanut butter with this, because I love apples and peanut butter, and I love apples and caramel, but I've never put them together.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it was so good. And then, you know,
I love coconut, and my mom's like, you could have skipped the coconut, but let me try it. And she goes, oh, I really like that. Of course, it must have been the caramel that she really liked.
Right.
But everybody was like finding their favorite like combination of like, I'm going to drag it, because we built it. In fact, that was a formula. 3 of us, including my mom, me, you, and mom, are
planning
like,
how we were going to architect.
How are we going to design this board? And think about, you know, we can't just make piles. We need to be able to like drag the apple across this area to get a little bit of
everything.
You know, these 3 things or this 4 things. Oh my God. And it was
I will totally do that again. I loved that. It was a lot.
Well, any charcuterie board costs a lot of money,
Oh, I'm not even talking about the price, but yes, it was a little bit more on the pricier side, but it was just a lot of
choices.
Food, you know, because I didn't, we were kind of,
well, we
not
went to the grocery. We were like, my mom likes lemon curd. We could buy a lemon curd and put that on the caramel. Oh, what about the strawberry pie filling? Oh, what about a jelly or like oh my God, it was the Nutella you were saying. We were like butterscotch pieces. Oh my Lord in heaven.
Seriously, there would be so many. It literally is, because how good is a caramel apple? You know, when you get it out of the package during fall and you chop it up into little pieces and you have it all there. But it always is so messy to eat, and it's not, you know, you eat it even if it is messy because it's delicious.
But easier
with
in slices.
This was so easy.
Yeah.
You would pick your apple slices. It could be different types of apple, green, red, yellow.
We got them all.
Oh, it was so good. So anyway, good idea
yeah.
for a birthday non-cake eater. And happy birthday. Happy 91st birthday, Mimi. We love you so much. You are such a trooper. You're so strong. It's so inspiring to have someone as vivacious and young-hearted and young-bodied at 91.
And this just goes to show, when I used to, back 20-something years ago, was doing some of the DEXA scans when I was in my radiology world. They had me be on a program of testing one of these bone density drugs, right? That increases your bone density. But I had to learn to do the DEXA scans because I would follow a group of people. And so when my mom came to visit, I said, Mom, let's put you in the program. She was off the charts. She didn't need to be on this.
Wow. And
she was like in her, what would that have been, 20 years ago or 25 years ago? She would have been my age. And she had bones of a 30-year-old. Typically, when a 91-year-old falls on the knee,
that's
you
broken.
Jam up your hip.
Right.
So then you fracture your hip head, your femur head, which is your hip. You go down on your wrist. You break your wrist bone. Your elbow jams up the shoulder into the shoulder. So nothing, honey, nothing except her broken nose, and
she still looked great.
Yeah,
you know, she put on a little bit of makeup, and you could, you know, it wasn't as noticeable,
but it was not like, holy moly, what happened to you?
Right.
Yeah, it was great.
So it was a fabulous trip, and there was definitely a guiding, protecting angel along for her trip to that sidewalk. But
and I said, Mom, you know, someone laid you down. And she's like, no, they didn't lay me down. And I'm like, well, you know, if you fallen on the side of your head, you really could have broken an orbital bone or smashed in the side of your head, but you drove home.
It was impressive.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a great weekend. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode. We will check you next week. And remember to share this podcast with anyone you know. Join our Patreon new platform and give us those 5-star reviews, or email me, alex@intentionbeads.com.
Yep.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The story of you, the story of you. The story of you, the story.